I think that worked. And we are live for another episode of From Corner to Corner. Woo, baby! We got Sean, Neil, Adam, and Daron on screen tonight, and we're joined by the young professor, who is the on-field MC for the Savannah Bananas.
And he actually has another official job title. What is that new job title for you?
So I am now the cast director for the Savannah Bananas as well, for all of our entertainment characters.
Man, what a year and a half, right? So the last
you
were our very first on-air interview when we were still doing the wrestling stuff. You hadn't even sniffed the Savannah Bananas at this point. You were with the minor league team with the Reds in Florida. You did some wrestling stuff. You were teaching. And then, boom, all of a sudden, the Savannah Bananas come calling.
Well, it kind of worked that way. Do you remember what month we did talk? I might have gotten at least a sniff with the Bananas by that point.
I believe it was January or February of 2022.
Oh, wow. Well, then, yeah, I would have. I probably was waiting on the big announcement, but I had done one little itty-bitty stint with the Bananas that summer beforehand, which, turned out to be a life-changing cameo appearance over there.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that, the craziness that has ensued since you have started working with the Bananas. I mean, one would say that it's gone bananas.
One could say a lot of things about what's going on. And the truth of the matter is, we're really only getting started here. As crazy as that sounds based on where we're going and how things are shaping up, we've got very, very big plans far beyond even what is in the immediate future for us. But to go, I guess, back in time a little over 2 years ago, actually probably about 3 years ago, close to then, is when I first found out about the Bananas. Now, I'd already been a ring announcer, and I'd already been hosting events for some time at that point. And I was getting ready for my first season working with the Daytona Tortugas. I live in Central Florida. Daytona Beach is only 30 minutes away. So that's kind of home base for me. That's where I started my wrestling announcing career and my entertainment career, for that matter. And I was getting ready for that. And I know some of you guys are familiar with the shirt brand Roosevelt. A couple of us in here are wearing them right now. But a few years ago, I happened to see some of the guys went out to a Savannah Bananas game. And I guess at that time it was a banana ball game. Probably the first one, because they ran the first ones in front of crowds in early 2020. And that's when I first saw the player playing on stilts. And it immediately blew my mind and captured my attention, because I was like, that is not something that I've ever seen before, and I need to know more. And so I kind of fell down the rabbit hole and started learning as much as I could about that team and organization. And lo and behold, they were doing some really interesting things. And I really felt drawn to it, because at that time I was really diversifying my own entertainment career and trying to really maximize it and maybe make something out of it. Because a lot of people do what I've been doing part-time and to varying degrees of success. And I was trying to string enough together that maybe, just maybe, this could turn into a real career option for me. And so I took an interest immediately. I found our owner, Jesse Cole's his first book at the time, read that, and was like, yeah, I only live 3 hours from Savannah. I have to learn more. I have to find out as much as I can. And if I can ever go meet this man and learn more directly, that is what I want to do. And so that's what I set out to do. I reached out to him on LinkedIn because 2.5 years ago, he was a lot more accessible than he probably is right now. And we connected on there, and I kind of just told him that I was a fan. I read his book, and I loved what he was doing. And if I could ever come out, I would love to meet him. And he says, well, if you do come out, I'd love to show you around and give you a tour and talk to you about how we do what we do. And I did wind up getting tickets to a game that summer, because back then, even though all the games would sell out then too, they were a little easier to get than they are now. Now they're damn near impossible to get. But the one game I could have even made it to, like, the stars really aligned for this. My family and I went out, and I said to him, kind of off, just as an off remark, I was like, "Hey, and by the way, I'm an MC and I'm a ring announcer for wrestling, and so in case you need anything, I'm just going to pack my suit." And he goes, "Actually, that night that you're coming is the only night where our PA announcer is going to miss. He's never missed a game ever before, but he's going to miss that night. And so I actually might need some help that night if you're interested." And hell yeah, I was interested.
I got the goosies.
So I mean, and then Banana Ball has taken the world by storm. You can't get on any social media site, YouTube, anything without seeing something that is related to the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, I mean, and I kind of, even from afar, before I even got to that first game, I just knew there was something special there. I as someone that was working in entertainment, I was like, there's something happening here that's really interesting. And I did that one game, and I worked a little bit at the beginning, and then just got to go enjoy it. And it was seriously the most fun thing I'd ever been. And it wasn't even a banana ball game; it was a baseball game, and they were just doing all of their shenanigans around it because that's when they still had a regular baseball team too. And as they were getting ready for the tour the next year, the Banana Ball World Tour, the 8-city tour that we did in 2022, that was documented in Banana Land, which is on ESPN Plus and on Hulu. I had reached out and I put this video together and all this other crazy stuff. Probably right before I interviewed with you guys, I was talking with the Bananas actively about just wanting to come on. And they already had a host. They already had stuff going on. I was like, look, I don't want to steal anybody's job. I just want to come and learn, right? I want to learn as much as I can. And we went back and forth. I said, I'll sell popcorn. They were like, we're not going to have you sell popcorn. We've seen you work. We don't want that. But let's see what we can come up with. And so they invited me to be on the 2022 World Tour. And pretty much from the time we started that first weekend, that's when after that first weekend of that tour, that's when the Bananas crossed over 1 million followers on TikTok. And really, that was just the beginning of this journey. Because you're right, now we have millions and millions and millions of followers across all these different platforms. We played in front of over 600,000 or over 500,000 fans this past year. We're going to play in front of over 1 million fans next year. We're playing in 6 major league ballparks. And you're right, this thing is very, very soon going to be a complete household name everywhere.
So for those that live under a rock, why don't you explain what the difference between baseball and banana ball is?
Banana ball is baseball with all the boring parts removed and slightly more fun parts added into it. So baseball is still the core of what we do. I mean, the guys that play for us are professional athletes. They grew up playing the game of baseball, and that's what makes this thing go. But it is a full throttle, nonstop, 360-degree entertainment experience, all surrounding a baseball game kind of in the center of it. We get compared a lot to the Harlem Globetrotters just because they are known as like the entertainment team for basketball. We've got a few differences. I mean, namely, the Bananas do not always win their games, unlike how the Harlem Globetrotters do things. But that's probably the biggest comparison that we get.
Sorry. I know, the story of the Savannah Bananas has been all over everything, right? It's a phenomenal story. I know they bought the team, and, if I remember correctly, it used to be the Savannah Sandbats. They got moved to Columbia as the Fireflies, and they did away with the Savannah team in Double A or in Single A. And then Savannah gets their team, the Bananas, and tried doing regular baseball, right? And then the crowds wasn't happening, and then the owner kind of come up with this concept, right?
You got a few key details correct, and a few I'll correct you on.
Sure.
The Sand Gnats were the team that was there before. It was a separate entity. It's not like we took that over. We took over that stadium and a professional baseball team there. So that's number one. And they left Savannah because they're like, this is an old stadium. It'll never work here. No one has ever drawn any crowds here. It's terrible. You need to build us a new stadium. The city of Savannah said no. And so they, took their ball and went home to be somebody else, which, that's fine. Our owner came in and and bought the rights to have a team there and put them in the Coastal Plain League. Now, the Coastal Plain League, we were in that league until last summer, not this past summer, but 2022 summer. And it's a collegiate wood bat summer league. So college baseball players, that's where they would go after their regular season for their college teams would end. And there's a number of these collegiate summer league teams that play throughout the country. And that's what the Bananas were. They were a collegiate summer league baseball team playing regular baseball. And it did work because originally this concept of banana ball didn't exist. But our owner, Jesse Cole, he owned another team beforehand, the Gastonia Grizzlies. And for years there, he took that from being probably one of the worst teams just in terms of revenue and attendance, one of the worst teams in all of existence in baseball in the United States. And once he got the reins when he was like a 23-year-old GM, he slowly started making that much more successful and started adding dancing players and all kinds of crazy promotions and wild things. And so he was experimenting with another team years before he bought the Bananas. In fact, he was wearing the yellow tux years before he actually was with the Bananas, which a lot of people don't realize. And he knew that if he could generate enough buzz and enough attention with a baseball team, that he could do something special with it. And so that's what the Savannah Bananas became. And initially, it was all of this craziness around the game of baseball. And it did work because the game I went to was a regular baseball game. The place was packed out. Our stadium seats 4,000 people. We're adding another 1,000 seats coming into this next season, but it seats 4,000. And that place was sold out every single night from the time they started, because they were able to generate so much buzz and add so much fun, but it was around baseball. It was still 9 innings. Sometimes the pace was really not what the Bananas would have liked it to be. And so that's what he saw. He saw that there was an opportunity to, how can we get this to stop? Because people are leaving in that 7th inning. They're leaving. They're not staying to the end. And they always ask, like, if you were watching a movie, do you leave with like 30 minutes left in the movie? You don't.
Right. Nope.
No one does that. So why would people do that in a baseball game? So they started realizing like there's things about the game of baseball that could be improved on, right, in terms of entertainment experience. And so they set out to try and find ways to do that. And they started kicking around some new ideas and some new rules that eventually became some of the foundational rules of banana ball, like the 2-hour time limit. Each inning counts, right? You're not going to get blowout games more than likely, because each inning, whoever wins the inning gets a point. So it's not runs, it's points. Runs count in the inning, but they only count towards points for that inning. And so they took a lot of these things they learned as a collegiate summer league team and put them into this thing that we call banana ball. And we started experimenting with it, playing it in front of crowds. They took it on the road in 2021 to Mobile, Alabama during the One City World Tour. And then when we took it to the 8 cities that we did in 2022, the world fully embraced it because it was just revolutionary. And they realized, you know what, we have enough here. We don't have to be a regular baseball anymore. And so we went all in on banana ball. And this year was the first year where that is all that we did. And that is all we are going to do moving forward.
So the owner, did he, I mean, in his wildest imaginations, did he think the Savannah Bananas would become what it is? Or like, what was his initial vision for it?
His initial vision was make baseball fun. That's it, and that's all. Because he was a baseball player himself. I mean, he had aspirations of being a pro ball player, of becoming a Boston Red Sox, perhaps. He grew up in Scituate, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. He got to be a bat boy once when he was a kid, and that's always what he wanted to do. And he was really good. He was a good pitcher, and then he had a shoulder injury, and his career was over. And so he went into management, and even though he always loved baseball, he was sitting there one day and he goes, "Oh my God, this is boring."
Right.
And if he's bored, a guy who absolutely loves it, what do fans think? And so he just kind of reoriented his entire thinking towards the game and realized and just came up with this idea. Something he says a lot. He says, we're not in the baseball business, we're in the entertainment business.
Right.
Once he flipped that switch, that's when he kind of started turning things around for Gastonia. And then for the Bananas, it was just, let's create a really fun baseball team in Savannah. And, I don't think, in fact, he'll tell you early on, well, none of this was something that he's had in his mind. But for the last couple of years, his vision keeps getting bigger and bigger because he understands, and we all are understanding, that the sky is the limit when you are willing to put in the work and you're willing to push the boundaries on things.
Well, and social media helps with that, right? I mean, you're all over social media. There's several players that are on TikTok that I follow because, I mean, it's fun. And we just had the girls basketball team on, the local basketball team, right before we had you on, and we told them that we were going to be interviewing you, and they said that they had as many emails as possible into that lottery for the Louisville visit, as do I, for this coming season. That it's exciting, right? And I think it's cool. Everybody wants to see it, and I mean, I'm excited for you. I'm glad that you have the opportunity to do it. I'm glad that we know you. I mean, that's pretty cool. For a lot of people that might not know this, you're the voice of our Saturday show on our intros, and it comes from your intro that you do for the Bananas, because I was watching it one night and I'm like, this is great. This would be a phenomenal intro for our show. So that's what I reached out to you. You wrote it, you did it all, and it's a major part of our show. I love it. Every time I listen to it, I still get goosebumps. And it's our own show.
It's a privilege to be a part of it, guys, and thanks for thinking enough of it to want to have it as the intro to your show. The coolest thing this year was the one game that we had on ESPN2 back over the summer when ESPN2 was ESPN8 The Ocho. They opened with me doing that intro live, and they didn't tell me till the day of. They were like, "Oh, by the way, you're opening the broadcast." Yeah, it was like, no pressure, man. Don't suck tonight, that's for sure.
So you also got to accomplish a bucket list. You got to do driver introductions at the Daytona 500, right?
Yeah, since we last talked, that happened too. 2 summers ago, 2022. That they heard me out at a Daytona Tortugas game, and then they looked into me and they saw that I did that as well as working for the Bananas, and they reached out and they were like, "Hey, would you be interested in this?" And I was like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I would, because it's what was so crazy about that is I said, I lived close to Daytona Beach. And I started my entertainment career. I mean, 8 years ago is when I started as a trivia host. I started in Port Orange, which is right next to Daytona. And I started there. My wrestling career started in South Daytona. And, I would play shows and do shows in front of 5 or 10 people. And, some years later, I got a chance to work at one of the most revered sporting venues in all of sports, the birthplace of racing there in Daytona Beach, in the Daytona International Speedway, and so to stand on that stage and work with the NASCAR Cup Series drivers, what an unbelievable opportunity! I mean, it was surreal, that's for sure. I mean,
are there times that you just like, am I in a dream right now? Like, is this really my life?
It's all the time. I'm not. I enjoy it, and I act like I'm used to it, but I'm not. I'm a regular dude, I grew up, pretty poor. I grew up in New Jersey. My dad was a car salesman. My mom stayed at home and she was a secretary. There's nobody famous or overwhelmingly successful in my family. None of my friends have gone on to do any of that kind of stuff. And I've spent a lot of my life being a regular Joe, just teaching school and doing what you do. And now I'm getting these opportunities to do amazing things with amazing people and things that almost nobody gets to do. And I'm really good at acting like, act like you've been there. But yeah, all the time I'm like, this is unreal, just an unreal experience.
So you talked about the upcoming world tour. It'll be the 3rd year of it, I think you said. And you're playing in 6 major league ballparks. What are some of the cities that you are going to hit this year?
In general, or major league?
You can start with the major league cities, and then you can talk about highlight some of the other ones.
Sure. Well, I mean, we kicked things off in Tampa, Florida, at the spring training home of the New York Yankees, playing where the Tampa Tarpons play. Played there last year, which was amazing. We go out to Arizona again, February. There's only so many places warm enough for us to go play banana ball. Back home to Savannah, then Jacksonville, Florida, and then we head to Houston, Texas, home of the Houston Astros. We are playing at Minute Maid Park. That is where we are doing our first major league game. From there, we go to LSU. We're in Baton Rouge. We go to Gwinnett County, which is right outside of Atlanta. But some of the major league stadiums, I guess those are the big ones that people want to hear about. We're heading to Fenway Park in June.
That's cool.
Unbelievable. We're also later in the summer, we're going to head out to Cleveland, Ohio, Progressive Field, where the Cleveland Guardians play. We are hitting, that's 3, right?
Yep.
And then we're going to Washington, D.C. We are doing Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the home of the Phillies, which I've spent many a night because I went to college about 20 minutes away from there. And then we end our tour next year in October in Miami, home of the Miami Marlins. And then we go and do a cruise that we host and run all the entertainment on the cruise at Banana Land at sea.
So, I mean, you literally, I mean, it is a world tour. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be too long until you all take it overseas.
I mean, there's definitely interest. We've had interest from parties in Australia. We've had interest from parties in Japan, Canada, and Mexico. Obviously, that they're not on the agenda this coming year, but we've got very big plans for things in the future. I mean, but the demand right now, even just domestically, is outrageous. I mean, you guys mentioned being in the ticket lottery. For anybody that's listening to this, it's like, oh, I need to look this up and get on. You're already too late, because our ticket lottery was open from October until December 1st. And in that time, 2,020,000 plus signed up for a chance to have their name drawn in that lottery system. And we're only playing in front of a little over 1 million people this year. And each person drawn can buy up to 4 tickets. So, only a very small fraction of the people even in that lottery are going to get a chance. So this thing is like Taylor Swift tickets at this point. It is very, very hard to get a chance to come see us do what we do.
So, I mean, later in the summer, you all get to come up to our neck of the woods, just a little bit up the road, and you're playing at the Louisville Bat Stadium. So
I'm excited because as a former Daytona Tortugas guy, that was within our progression in the minor league system. So I haven't gotten a chance to check out the Louisville Bats.
It's a really nice ballpark.
Hopefully we get a chance to go see the Slugger Museum. I know that's right out there too. So we usually do some pretty decent excursions on the road from time to time. So I'm excited because it's a state I haven't performed in, and I've only really driven through Kentucky, and even that, it's been a long time since I've been up that way.
So, are you still living in Daytona, or have you moved closer to Savannah, or how does that work?
So I still live in Central Florida. Like I live 30 miles north of Daytona, and it's where I've lived. I've been in this house since 2011. So, and I don't have plans on moving. What's nice about, especially now that I'm full time with the Bananas, a lot of my work is done remote, which is great because I don't have to work all day teaching school, which is what I have done for the last 2 seasons. And then, get on a plane and go travel and come back and just go right back to it. So a lot of my stuff is done here at home. And then when we're on the road, we're on the road. So that's how I'm able to balance it. And if there is something that I do need to get to Savannah for, 3 hours really isn't a bad trip. I used to do a whole lot more for a whole lot less. I mean, you guys talk to me when I was just doing wrestling, and, you do shows hundreds of miles away for a hot dog and a handshake. I'll drive 3 hours to go perform at the Savannah Bananas. I will make that happen.
Right. Now, do you still do your stuff with college basketball?
I do. I'm not doing the entire season just because the season overlaps with Banana Ball this year. But I work with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. This is my 3rd season with them. And we got a couple of games this coming weekend. So I'll be out there Friday morning and then Saturday night. I think those are my last 2 for 2023. And then I'm doing a few more in early January before things really ramp up and go for Banana Ball.
So you've been to a lot of cities, obviously, the last few years with this Banana Ball. What's your favorite city, and what goes into your suit selection before the game?
Well, some of my favorite cities. We did a whole loop in California last year, and I'd never been out to California before. And I will say I really, really enjoyed some parts of it. It was the most exhausting leg of the tour. I'll start with that. It was a million degrees out every day, and with the suits I wear, it was the closest I've ever come to passing out was in Fresno, California, in a shiny gold tuxedo at 104 degrees Fahrenheit at 6:30 at night. But we got a chance to go and check out stuff in San Francisco, which I know San Francisco usually gets a bad rap. I really liked it. We had a good time out there. We drove over the Golden Gate Bridge. We went to a Giants game. We went just outside of the city, got to see some redwood trees, and California was cool. San Francisco area in particular, got the chance to check out Hollywood. We went all around Boston and hit one day. We did a Phillies game in the afternoon and a Mets game at night on a travel day in between. So we did a doubleheader just between some cities in the Northeast. So I've had a lot of good memories and a lot of good experiences in lots of cities this year. So it'd be hard to pick just one favorite. But my suit selection is actually a little more limited with the Bananas. It's a little more consistent. I typically wear my signature gold jacket because that's the one Jesse likes. So that's kind of what narrows that down. But I have a silver one that is like the same jacket. I've also got it in red and blue and green. And so like on some of our more patriotic games, I'll bust those out, or on St. Patrick's Day, I'll wear the green one. But I did pepper in a few other like really classy, really shiny, sparkly ones. So really, it has to look like a really, really good suit if I'm going to wear it for a Bananas game. So that's kind of where my selection criteria goes in.
So let's talk about for a second, what is when the young professor is at a Banana game, you obviously do the introduction. Are you done at that point, or what do you do throughout the game?
Oh man, no, I'm not done. That's literally the beginning, and even then, it's more like the middle for me, because what people don't realize. So, you know, a baseball game, right? Says first pitch is 7:00, 7:05. What time do you guys show up for that game?
7:00.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I would be more on lines of 6 o'clock.
Yeah, okay. And let's say you get there 6 or 7. Like, you probably could just go get your seat, and you really didn't miss anything, and you just go. If you show up at 7 o'clock for a 7 o'clock Banana Ball game, you are not getting a seat. You will be standing somewhere, and probably in a place where you don't want to stand. And you will have missed at least an hour's worth of entertainment already, because our people literally line up all day. Some people get there in the morning and get in line, like it's Black Friday in 1998. It's a very interesting phenomenon because all of our seating is first come, first serve, first available seating. So you want good seats, you better get there fast. And we actually have a DJ out there right around like 3 o'clock playing music, interacting with fans. I come out with another host at around 4:30, 4:45, and we do what we call the pre-show. And so we're on stage there for about 45 minutes until we open the gates, and we do all kinds of stuff interacting with fans there. We'll bring out some guests from the team, our broadcasters, so people that watch us on our YouTube broadcast, they get to come out and talk to people, and they get to meet them in person. And we do some other silly shenanigans, and then we open the gates at 5:30, and it is a stampede of people just bum rushing into the stadium, scurrying everywhere, trying to get seats. And pretty much as soon as they get in, and within about 10 minutes, we start all of our pregame festivities. We have about an hour and 20 minutes worth of pregame activities and things happening in that entire time. And I'm part of some of them. I host a few of them. The team does other stuff. Other players, other characters are featured. And so we have a lot going on. We have about 50 or so promotions before we throw the first pitch.
Oh, wow.
And so and then once the game starts, you will find me hosting a few of the in-game segments in between the innings. And then when we get towards the end of the game and we get into the final inning, where like the rules change a little bit, because during the final inning, every run counts for a point. We're always educating people because these are new and different rules. I come out and set that up, and this is the situation. The Bananas are down by 3, but it ain't over till it's over, ladies and gentlemen, because in this inning, every run counts for a point. So this is the time for the Bananas to stage their comeback, hold off the party animals, and walk this thing off, ladies and gentlemen. And, just get that last, and the energy just picks way back up, and you can feel that intensity. And, and we've had Bananas come back and win. We've had them do nothing and not win. And so it just, there's always stuff to do. And then we all go out after the game and sign autographs and take pictures with the fans for about an hour. So, yeah, I'm not done after the first intro.
So, I mean, I'm just blown away right now about because I thought I knew some about the banana ball, but I don't know nearly what I thought I did. So they started. When did the party animals come to be?
When we started, the Bananas needed somebody to play in this game. And so we had to create another team. We had to create rivals for them. And so actually, a lot of people don't realize this. The Party Animals was one of the names in contention for what the Bananas became. Like, it was down to a couple different names. One of the names was the Party Animals, and the other name was the Savannah Bananas, and that's the name that we went with. So the Party Animals are the second banana ball team. They were first, I think, unveiled during the 2021 One City World Tour in Mobile, Alabama. And then they were obviously the opponents during the 2022 season. And they kind of started picking up steam. And then this year, I mean, they already have more TikTok followers than every Major League Baseball team, including the New York Yankees, and have for some time now. So, their brand is emerging. And we just unveiled a new team, a third team this year, called the Firefighters. So there'll be a few times on this tour where the Bananas are going to be playing in one city, and the Party Animals are going to be headlining in another city, and they're all playing banana ball with different casts, different activities, but that same kind of high-octane banana ball experience. Because right now, we are looking to not just build the Bananas anymore. We are building this game of banana ball.
Nice. So as a entertainer and somebody who's been in the wrestling ring, been at Daytona 500, done all this stuff, what kind of adrenaline rush do you get? I mean, I'm sure that the energy and atmosphere at a Bananas game is probably bananas. So, what do you like? What kind of rush do you get from that?
If I could describe it, if I could bottle it up and sell it, I'd be a billionaire. It is the most incredible, unbelievable feeling ever. I mean, and if you watch, just that second, especially after I finish that intro, you can see it on my face. It just, every fiber of my body, I'm shot out of a cannon when that's done. I'm jittery. My heart's pumping, my blood pressure's probably through the roof. You name it, it's happening. And there's a few moments throughout the night where that's what's going on. It is a rush to just have all those people just locked in and hooked to every word you're saying and just explode when you want them to. It's an incredible rush.
As a wrestling fan, that's got to be the closest thing to a Road Warrior pop that there is.
It is. I mean, and I tell you, I'm not an athlete myself, but I'm starting to understand more and more of why it's hard for these guys to walk away and why it's something that they chase so hard, because unless you've ever felt that, I don't think just how intoxicating it really is. Just what a rush. When a guy like Tom Brady keeps coming out of retirement, or Brett Favre years ago, and everybody's dogging him, you don't get it. You just don't. When that's your identity and that makes you feel the most alive you've ever felt in anything you've ever done, that's probably really tough to walk away from. Luckily, I can yell, forever. It's ageless. So I don't have to worry about what those guys do in their 40s. But I'm starting to understand it just based on even the experiences I get to have.
So the exposure that the players for the Bananas and now the Party Animals and soon to be the Firefighters, do any of them get the opportunity to make the big leagues from playing with the Savannah Bananas?
In years past, I mean, there have been a number of guys who went from the Bananas and are now playing Major League Baseball. You got to remember, those guys at that time were going through the collegiate summer league. So like their goal and their mission was always still to go on and play Major League Baseball. I mean, that's why those guys are kind of chasing that dream. Where we're at now, I don't know. Time will tell. I mean, a lot of the guys that we have now are guys that were high-level collegiate ball players, or they were drafted into the minors and played there, or played some levels of independent ball. And maybe that worked out. Maybe it didn't. And so now they've kind of come over to us. They've got the skills and the talent. You've got to be a good ball player to play with us. But as we're growing in popularity, our talent pool is really increasing as well. I mean, you're getting really high-level baseball players that want to play this game and want this experience. And so I do think that there is potential for that in the future. I mean, right now, though, what we're seeing instead is a lot of former major leaguers want to come and play with us for at least a night and make special appearances. That's where we've had guys like Johnny Gomes and Johnny Damon and Jonathan Papelbon come out and play. And Josh Reddick has played a few games with us, and Hunter Pence. Like all like World Series champions and Gold Glove winners. Jake Peavy is like one of our best ambassadors, and he's come out and played with us a few times. He plays with his actual Gold Glove, the award, which is a real glove, by the way. It looks like a trophy. It's an actual glove. I've held it, so I know. And so these guys now want to come and play with us, and you hear them, guys who've been to the mountaintop, who have conquered and slayed the dragon. I hear them say to us that this is the most fun I've ever had on a baseball field.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, you can't beat that. That's the best kind of endorsement, right?
I think so. These are World Series champs that are like this, and you look at them like, you won the World Series. They're like, yep, this is more fun. Wow, that's crazy.
Hunter Pence actually played for the Legends when he was coming up through the system. That was when they were the Astros before the Royals took over. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
He's a good dude. If our documentary series, our second season of Banana Land, it's airing twice a week on our YouTube channel. The California episode just came out, and so he was very heavily featured. He went all in on all of our nonsense, so he was having a good old time with us.
Who is the retired baseball pitcher that they bring out of the crowd, and he chugs the beer before he goes and strikes the dude out?
You are talking about the one, the only, the spaceman, Bill Lee.
That's who it is.
By the time we start the next season, he'll be 77 years young. And he played for the Boston Red Sox. He played for the Montreal Expos. He is a Red Sox Hall of Famer. He started 2 games in the 1975 World Series against the Cincinnati Reds. Bill Lee is a god amongst men, and he's always good for a soundbite, or he's always good for some silliness out there. He is a wild man in all the best ways, and he comes and plays with us.
That is probably one of my favorite bits that I see is, obviously at the time they're just, we know they're not, but it looks like some random guy that's just coming out of the audience, and it's like, and he strikes the dude out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because he's throwing stuff that's very off speed, and these guys are used to, they're used to certain miles per hour coming at them, and then Bill Lee comes in. But Bill Lee is throwing in the 60s and he'll hit the 70s sometimes, and then he changed it up with that big eephus pitch, the leafus pitch as it's called, and he catches guys looking silly out there. You guys have gone yard off him, and if that happens, he usually plunks the next guy. So he's old school.
That's pretty good.
Adam, you got a question?
Oh, I always got something to say.
Okay.
So, how long do these guys practice this choreography and these dance moves that you see on TikTok and ends up trending? Is there a technique or practice time allotted for that? Or is that just, hey, on the fly, you follow me?
No, it's not on the fly. A lot of things happen on the fly, but those things are rehearsed. So to give you a sense of like what goes on in a given day for a banana ball game, that whatever dance we do, it's different every single night. So it's not like they have a long time to practice. But we get to the ballpark typically around noon, and we eat lunch together. And then from there, they go to rehearsals. And so they rehearse all the different things that they plan on doing for content throughout the night. They rehearse the run scoring celebrations, And that's like, hey, if you score a run, the first run, this is what we're going to do tonight. The second run, that's this. And if you don't, well, then we shelve it for the next day and we use it, whenever it happens. So, it's not staged like it is, but it's if-then scripting, if that makes sense.
Right.
You think if this happens, then we're going to do this. And so we have those rehearsals go on. The 3-2-2s we call it are usually the ones that you see online. That's the third inning, second batter, second pitch. They know that that's when that dance is going to happen. And like we practice even like where the camera's got to be so that everybody's like placing their blocking is in the right, so that everyone's in the shot the right way and the way they do it. And so they work on that. They might work on it on their own a little bit and a little bit on their own after to make sure they get it right. But they go through it. But these guys all keep up on TikTok. They see what's going on. They know what it is. And they after a while, it's like a muscle with anything. You do enough dances, you start knowing how to do dances. So they work all that stuff out. So that rehearsal is usually an hour and a half. And then they go into all their baseball stuff. That's when they go into batting practice and, shag and fly balls and some other defensive maneuvering. And then we do all the pre-show stuff. We have like VIPs come in at 4:45. So these guys are working all day from like 1 o'clock until we get done at 11. And then we're loading trucks and getting everything out. And, fans are now waiting for us at hotels and stuff. So there's not much downtime for these guys.
That just shows you where my baseball brain is, because you said 3-2-2. I'm thinking 3 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs, and you're like, no, it's the third inning, second batter, second. But you kind of touched on it right there. That's one of the funnest things about TikTok and what we see on it is they embrace TikTok trends, right? Like the one where they act like they're hurt and they get down on their back and then they start twitching their back. I mean, that's called twerking.
That is called twerk.
That's a twerk.
It's called twerking when you're on all fours.
Everybody loves twerking these days.
It's really funny how they embrace these TikTok trends and incorporate those into the game. And I think it's extremely clever how that goes about.
Well, it's the kind of content people like, but also we're doing it in such a novel setting. To see those things on a TikTok video, okay, that's good. But to see it live in a stadium with 10,000 people there watching it is it's another level of just interesting to it. So people really gravitate towards what we're doing, and we're all over that. I mean, I feel like we're very much tapped into where people are at from an entertainment standpoint these days. People have a very short attention span, and they want things quick and they want it fun, and then they want to be on to the next thing. Our entire game is like that. Like the full 2 hours of the game is wildly entertaining, but every 30 seconds is really entertaining in and of itself, because there's always something going on everywhere you look in that entire place.
Well, I know some of the batters, they'll actually start their intro from up in the stands, like singing and dancing all the way down to the batter's box. It's not just like your typical walk up from the warm-up deck. So I get that part of it for sure. One other question I meant to ask while ago when I was doing the city part. When you're in a city, how many days are you typically performing, or is it just like a one and done type thing?
Typically, this year it's usually 2 or 3 games for almost all of them, except for the major league stadiums. Those are one and done. We're only doing 1 game in each of the major league cities. So that's a big experiment this year too. I mean, we're trying to figure that all out, because this is new. The game itself is new, and the scale has gotten bigger and bigger. But these stadiums that are going to have 30, 40,000 people, we're learning a lot this year as we go. We're still delivering this great experience, but we're learning too, and we're not afraid to do that. But we didn't want to go in, I don't think, all in on 2 nights in a row, 3 nights in a row for something like that, as we're kind of working that out. But now this year, almost everywhere else, it's 2 or 3 nights. So we're in town for a little bit, but there's really not a whole lot of time for us to do much else. This past tour, we had it because we had more lengthy travel legs. We would do a loop and there'd be a travel day, so maybe we could break off and go do something. But I don't know that will be quite as common this coming year.
So it begs the question: how do you how do you maintain the hype of this wave of celebrity? I guess
No two shows are the same. I mean, and that's the biggest thing is people do get bored easily, and so we're always thinking, what's next? You know, the way we look at it is, you know, the game that you see will be the worst you ever see us, because we're going to be better by the next one, and then we're going to be better by the next one. Because we're constantly changing, we're constantly evolving, we're constantly experimenting. If something works, we'll do it. If something doesn't work, we won't do it. And if something works better, then we're going to replace something with that, because we just want to have a completely novel experience for people on any given night. There's certain things that are pretty consistent about our show, but every single night you will see at least 10 to 15 brand new things that we have never done before. And some of them go really well, and some of them go over like a fart in church. They're not that great. So we're not afraid to do either of those.
Well, it's like you said at the beginning of the show. In a Harlem Globetrotters game, you know they're going to win, right? In this, you don't know that, right? You guys are playing a legit baseball game against each other. Some nights the Party Animals win, some nights the Bananas win, and that alone.
They won the tour last year. They won the tour. They beat the Bananas for the year. So if that doesn't tell you, I don't know what does.
There you go.
So you had talked earlier, there will be times on this tour where you have the Bananas in one city and the Party Animals in another. Who do they play in situations like that?
So, that's why the firefighters have come in. So the firefighters are going to be one of the opponents that, when we hit, I think June is about when the Party Animal when the firefighters are going to start be regularly in the rotation. But in the case of the others, so there's a team that came out and played us in what we call the Challenger Series game last year from Australia. They're coming back out this year, called the Austin Drop Bears. They're going to come out and they're going to play a couple of games of Banana Ball with us once again. And there's another team on the schedule that will be one of our teams. And I don't know if it's an official brand, but we're calling them the Visitors. And I think it's more of like a developmental brand that we're working on to kind of give these guys a chance to play some Banana Ball. Maybe I don't even know who's going to be on that team. I haven't seen anything there. But they're going to be very well acquainted with the game of Banana Ball and doing some interesting things along with that. And they are the Visitors. So I don't know what we're doing with the brand of that, but much like, they'll certainly have a spot on the scoreboard in most places.
You guys are like building your own league of baseball teams. And I can see this continuing to grow where you guys are all over the nation at the same time. I mean, they're going to have to find some more young professors to be able to spread out like that.
Well, that's one of my goals this year and moving forward. So now as the cast director, that's part of my job is to scout for good talent and not only just like supplemental characters in the Bananas games, but we're building out characters and people to do that for the Party Animals. And if we do get more teams, we're going to need to replicate me. We're going to need to replicate, things that are similar to our Banana Nanas and things that are similar to our Dad Bod Cheer Squad, the Man-Nanas, and have these different characters that people can attach to. We're planning on, like, we had a rock band out last year when the Party Animals had their one home game. So we usually have a Bananas pep band that come out, and they're a pep band, and they march around and do stuff. We had a rock band come out for the Party Animals last year. A little gruntier, a little dirtier, a little more seedy for the bad boys of Banana Ball. And so we're going to need to really kind of build a much deeper bench of people that not only can play Banana Ball, but that can entertain and bring this 360-degree entertainment experience out to everybody. And so, we're going to need a lot more in that regard.
So how many people are we talking on a cast for one game? You got those teams, you got your characters on the side, you got yourself. How many people does it take to put on one show?
Well, I will tell you this. I'm not sure if we're counting characters and all that, but I will say that when we travel, we typically travel with about 150 people between players, characters, and just our own staff that we have run a lot of the stuff because it's a major, massive operation. broadcast and even our own merchandise crew and our ticketing people, because the way we ticket is completely different than how anyone else is doing. So we have a giant crew that goes out to every single game. And whereas by comparison, a group like the Harlem Globetrotters, I think they travel with like 30 to 40 people. And we're out with about 150 in every city we go to.
So I asked you earlier about what your favorite city was, and I gave you a chance to say the right answer. You obviously didn't go that route. You went with San Francisco and who knows what other places.
Right.
One was West Virginia last year.
I loved West Virginia, actually.
That's the right answer.
I got a chance to go there the year before because I really liked the Dirty Bird, and I got a chance to go. I was supposed to co-host the game last summer, 2 summers ago now, and the game got rained out. I was already there, but like fans knew me and like came out to see me and meet me and talk with me, so I really was able to like make some good relationships, even briefly with some people. And so for us to get to go there as the Bananas this year, I was really happy. There were some familiar faces, people I got a chance to meet and talk with, and everybody was so nice. And I don't know what this says about that part of West Virginia, but it was like one of the only cities where I remember people when they were leaving, like overwhelmingly thanking us for coming there. Like, thank you so much for coming here. And I was like,
That's the spirit.
Not coming. Like, they were overwhelmingly grateful that we would grace them with our presence. And I was like, this was fun. Like, I don't know what you're embarrassed about. Like, this was cool. Of course we came.
So as we start wrapping up here, for those that obviously have lived under a rock and they don't know anything about the Bananas, how would you suggest them start learning who the Savannah Bananas are?
Crawl out from under the rock.
That would be the first spot, yes.
And then turn on any device, and then probably you will start to see us. But if you need further prompting from there, just type in Savannah Bananas, and you will find an endless gamut of content in long form, short form, mid form, you name it. It's out there, and it is going to blow you away. Whatever you look at, it is sure to at least pique your interest. And the further you go down that rabbit hole, I think you'll be glad that you did.
18 months ago or a little bit longer, you weren't here. It's unimaginable where you may be in 18 more months.
That's probably true. And I say that kind of cryptically, but we just had a meeting the other day, which, very, very confidential information in this meeting, but it was looking at our vision for where we are looking to go by 2026, which, that's not that far away. That's, 24 months away, 25 months away from right now. That's 3 years. Well, no, it's like 25 months from right now. And if even half of what we talked about comes to fruition, then yeah, you're right. Like where things look like what it looks like in 18 months from now is going to be night and day from this. It's similar to what we're looking at by comparison to the previous 18 months.
Right.
Well, that's exciting. I'm glad that we know you and we have the friendship that we have all over these Roosevelt shirts, right? Because you all started talking on a Roosevelt platform, and that's how you wound up being our first interview. And you found the Savannah Bananas by Roosevelt's as well, right? So it's kind of cool that thing kind of tied us all together. So, well, Professor, we appreciate you coming on and spending an hour with us on Monday night. I knew it would be a fun interview, and we love following the Bananas, and I look forward to everything that's going to happen with that. I really hope that I get my name drawn out of that lottery next summer, because I think it'd be cool to come. I don't know that I'm excited about standing in line for 12 hours, but I'm excited to have the opportunity to come. So,
hey, look, man, we will entertain you in that time.
I know that. Did you say something? No. So, anyways, guys, there you have it. This is for another episode of the From Corner to Corner podcast. Again, we've been listening to the young professor here joining us tonight, And if you like this, go out, research the bananas. I promise you will not be disappointed. They're all over TikTok and social media. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Stay safe, friends.